So today, the United States launched a trade war against Canada, their closest partner and ally, their closest friend. At the same time, they're talking about working positively with Russia, appeasing Vladimir Putin, a lying, murderous dictator. Make that make sense. Canadians are reasonable, and we are polite, but we will not back down from a fight. Not when our country and the well-being of everyone in it is at stake. At the moment, the U.S. tariffs came into effect in the early hours of this morning, and so did the Canadian response. Canada will be implementing 25% tariffs against $155 billion worth of American goods, starting with tariffs on $30 billion worth of goods immediately, and tariffs on the remaining $125 billion of American products in 21 days' time. Now, it's not in my habit to agree with the Wall Street Journal, but Donald, they point out that even though you're a very smart guy, this is a very dumb thing to do. I think in terms of what he wants, and I heard he talked about banking again this morning in a tweet, which doesn't make any sense because American banks, there's about 16 American banks currently active in Canada holding about $113 billion worth of assets in this country. So the American banks are alive and well and prospering in Canada. It's an example of not really being able to see what it is that he wants, because even the excuse that he's giving for these Paris tariffs today of fentanyl is completely bogus, completely unjustified, completely false. So we actually have to fold back on the one thing he has said repeatedly, that what he wants is to see a total collapse of the Canadian economy, because that'll make it easier to annex us. Now, first of all, that's never going to happen. We will never be the 51st state. But yeah, he can do damage to the Canadian economy, and he's started this morning. But he is rapidly going to find out, as American families are going to find out, that that's going to hurt people on both sides of the border.
Fresh trade wars kicked off Tuesday between the US and its top three trading partners, Canada, Mexico, and China, with new steep tariffs from Washington taking effect and triggering retaliation. On Monday night, US President Donald Trump accused all three targeted countries of failing to stop the flow of fentanyl into the US. Just after midnight on the US East Coast, Canadian and Mexican goods were hit with tariffs of 25%. And Trump's new tariffs on Chinese goods were doubled by an extra 10% to a cumulative 20%. Those new tariffs will apply to some major consumer electronics imported by the US, previously untouched by prior duties, including laptops, video game consoles, and Bluetooth devices. On Tuesday, China announced its own tariffs of 10 to 15%, mostly targeting US agriculture like soybeans, meat, and cotton, and added new export restrictions for designated US entities. Speaking to reporters Tuesday, a Chinese parliamentary spokesperson said China was willing to resolve US concerns through consultation and dialogue, but will not accept threats and oppression. Meanwhile, US tariffs on goods from Mexico and Canada will likely cause deeper repercussions for the highly integrated North American economy. Canada and Mexico have for decades enjoyed a virtually tariff-free trading relationship with the US. After Trump confirmed tariffs would proceed, financial markets reeled and global stocks tumbled. Both the Canadian dollar and Mexican peso fell against the US dollar. Automaker shares fell sharply, especially for major firms General Motors and Ford, who have production lines in Mexico. Speaking to Reuters, Chris Brigatti, Chief Investment Officer of Southwest Business Corporation, says consumers will bear the brunt of Trump's tariffs.
The tariff situation and its effect on the domestic U.S. economy are really a bigger concern now that we have a more aggressive stance coming out of Washington. And that being said, the stagflation issue is rearing its head. And stagflation is quite simply a stagnant or if not rising a stable inflation rate, but a declining economic base. And I expect these specific tariffs to be damaging to the economy while increasing the prices of goods and services.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said on Monday Ottawa would hit back with 25% tariffs on up to about $107 billion worth of U.S. goods. Mexico's economy ministry said President Claudia Sheinbaum is expected to announce her response Tuesday. On Tuesday, markets responded to the news with stocks falling and bond yields sliding across Asia and Japan's Nikkei closing down 1.2%. Trump's America First agenda, aimed at redrawing trade relationships in favor of the U.S., is expected to be a centerpiece of his Tuesday night address to a joint session of Congress.